Stern and Julian Wilds ready to go in the feature match area. Let's head on down. Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Providence. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Jacob Van Lunen. And we're ready for round number 12, where we've got John Stern playing against Julian Wilds. These players have accrued very impressive record, 10-1 between these two. Really looking to make a run for top 8 at this point. This is round 12. There's not that many rounds left until we cut to top 8. And yeah, these guys are really putting themselves in a good spot, especially with the win here. As far as matchups goes, Jake, we've got Black Green Delirium versus 4-color Tameo Aggro from Julian, which I realize that is a crazy weird. You're like, wait, it's what? But it kind of is.
I mean, it seems pretty exciting to me. I mean, I'm not a particular fan of Tameo. I think a lot of people who are listening know that already, but I'm a big fan of I believe it's Woodland Wanderer, the 2/2, who gets plus one counter for each
That's the
color
one.
of mana you pay.
You like that card?
I like that card a lot.
That is one of the cards that Julian is taking advantage of by having such a diverse mana base. John has a Vessel of Nascency after a Traversy Ulvenwald, and is just going to play his land and pass a turn back. Not a lot of fireworks from Julian Wild's side of the board yet, but we'll see what he's got here on turn 3. All right, he's got a Tireless Tracker. Well, you don't often see people run it out on turn 3, but hey, if you don't have anything else to do, sometimes he shows up.
Yeah, a lot of the time also you just want your opponent to, spend their mana on their third turn. You don't want them to have a board presence. And, he sees his opponent has this Vessel. Maybe his opponent needs to find a land with that Vessel or something, and it's not going to be affecting the board at all. So
we'll see if this Tireless Tracker survives. Looks like she's going to survive. Going to be shrunk down a bit, but hey, lands and clues are still going to be flowing here as long as Julian has land drops to hit. There we go.
And Julian's got to be happy about that.
Yeah, definitely. Wonder if he has a Woodland Wanderer here.
He has energy. He has... Yeah, I mean, if he's not casting something pre-combat and he's not sacrificing that clue, then I bet that's what it is.
I think you're right. There it is.
Yeah.
Sweet.
This
Woodland Wanderer for the full amount, by the way, here.
This is the matchup where it is the worst, by the way. This is the matchup where they have, point-and-click removal that actually gets rid of it.
Murder.
Yeah. Occasionally Ruinous Path.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there are not a lot of cards that just deal with this thing right off the bat. Most of the removal that people are playing right now is red. This thing is a 6/6. It has a Vigilance and Trample. I mean, it trumps basically every vehicle that's on the ground.
Yeah. No, that's great. It looks really good. Especially in a world of Grasp, right? Grasp of Darkness is a card that's really impressed me on the weekend. But Woodland Wanderer's just bigger.
It's also very good at just crunching over the top to kill Planeswalkers.
Yeah, that trample is nice. John looks like he's going to minus Liliana. Whoa, rethink that.
So
John's going to rethink using Liliana before the Vessel. Use the Vessel first.
Responding to his own activations. I appreciate it.
Okay, he's found an Ishkanah. Now he's going to use Liliana. Does he have no creatures? He just miss?
Yeah, which is interesting because he could have left a creature in there to the vessel. But maybe it wasn't what he was thinking, that he needed max value if he wanted to stay in the game against this Wanderer.
That happens very rarely. Missing with Liliana. Julian's going to be pretty happy to see that. I mean,
yeah.
You know, Julian's more concerned probably with what's going on the board at the moment, but down the line he'll be pretty happy. Though John did pick up an Ishkanah out of his graveyard. Well, I should say off of the vessel. And that is going to be a problem.
It's worth noting, though, that the Woodland Wanderer does a good job fighting through Ishkanah, too.
Not bad.
And they throw the whole team in front. You just need one removal spell, and you're done with an Ishkanah.
Yeah, but I mean, just Ishkanah just trades straight up, right? It's like trade my Ishkanah for your massive Woodland Wanderer.
Yeah.
Not great.
Oh, yeah,
in combination with the removal spell, we're talking business. But once we start putting removal spells in the mix, I'm kind of like, well, yeah.
That's true. Well, the thing is, though, is that it costs one less mana. So when they are tangoing, the person who has the Woodland Wanderer will have on-tap mana.
True. Good point. You do get to be out ahead. This is where you want your Blossoming Defense that you've been talking about all weekend. Protects your Woodland Wanderer.
Well positioned. That's a card that I think could fit beautifully into Julian's deck that he's actually not playing here. He does have access to it in the sideboard, however.
Okay. All right, well, John's going to run out Ishkanah, and there's Spider Friends as well. Sorry, BBD.
World champion, Brian Braunduin.
Oh, yeah. Julian's actually going to run a Spell Queller out there for no value against Ishkanah and 3 spiders. He's better have a plan.
I'd be very surprised if he did not.
Magic players, can I get Melissa Stein into the red gathering point, man?
Well, I'll tell you one plan he's got going on is that Tireless Tracker.
Red gathering point. Thank you.
He's already got 2 clues and a bunch of mana going. But how is he going to punch through this Ishkanah?
I don't know. And I mean, Spell Queller for no value when your opponent has that Ishkanah is a bold card to run out. Is that a Verdurous Gearhulk in his hand?
I see a Voltaic Brawler for sure. He's going to play that.
Okay.
What's the other cards, though? I think it's another Woodland Wanderer. Yeah, it is. Well, if this is the case, this gets interesting. I mean, does he want to just start jamming with Woodland Wanderer, just saying, yeah, let's just trade off a bunch of stuff, or, try to clear away some of these spiders or something, so that he can clear away for the next one?
I think you want to wait till you can attack with both at the same time.
Okay, really put your opponent in a position. Also, one of the things about Julian's deck is that it does have Tameo, right? Mm-hmm. He can use that to tap down, say, both of the big creatures on John's board. And the spiders by themselves don't look great against a pair of 6/6 tramplers.
The other thing is that Julian has multiple clues in play. He's not running out of gas anytime soon.
He's definitely not. And that Tireless Tracker is going to become a major issue as well. So Julian kind of biding his time here, building up his board state. He now is facing a Kalatas, though, which could make things complicated.
Seems like an odd way to read. Like that, with a lantern in your other hand.
I think she's reading by moonlight there.
Weekend trial legacy players.
But the moon's bright enough. Why do you need the lantern?
Pairings are heading towards the board. Once again, Eternal Weekend trial players, your pairings are about to be posted.
Okay, so first things first for Julian, he's going to sacrifice a clue draw card.
Yeah, now he needs a way to push through all these Ishkanah tokens. I mean, both of his Woodland Wanderers have trample. He does have 2 copies of Harness Lightning in his deck.
Oh, there's right on time, Tamio. We just talked about her coming into his turn. It looks like he's found one of his copies of Tamio Field Researcher. And this is exactly the play that we described. He's going to be tapping down 2 of the bigger blockers, in this case, Ishkanah and the Grimflayer, though he has left Kalatas untapped. And those are not going to untap. This is a huge attack step for Julian.
Yeah, this is
whoa,
very, very big.
He's even got a leftover energy. No, it looks like he just wants to attack with his huge creatures here.
Just the biggest, baddest ones.
Yep. The Brawler has decided to stay home.
John actually probably somewhat happy that he gets to get this tracker off the board. I think that was really Julian's long plan. And John does want to be winning in terms of long plan. That's something that he kind of needs to secure. That's a realm of the game that he wants to be ahead in.
Even though it's going to cost him a Kalatas here. And he's going to take a healthy hit of 12 damage.
Gets to gain a little bit of life there.
Mm-hmm. It'll end up knocking him to 11 after he gains 3 from Kalatas' lifelink. But Julian's in a very threatening board presence here. With that Tamio sitting there ready to just -2 again, tap down 2 whatever blockers are left, and just jam with this big team.
Tamio, I mean, looks pretty good in this deck.
She's doing work.
So when you need to punch through, the fact that you couldn't get 2 and then 4 blockers out of the way, because you're playing a lot of creatures that are very hard to deal with.
Uh-oh, here is another Ishkanah, though. Hey, the other one was tapped for a turn cycle anyway, so he'd rather just add 3 more spiders plus an untapped Ishkanah to the battlefield. Looks pretty good for John Stern. All of a sudden, the shield's very firmly up for him.
It's still, I don't know if it's enough. I mean, you have to remember that both of these Woodland Wanderers have trample. There's 6 6s. I mean, that's a lot of spiders that have to get in the way of just one to take it down. And I mean, depending on what Julian draws, Julian has another clue he can sacrifice. Julian can minus this Tamio again, get the Ishkanah and the zombie out of the way, and then...
Yeah, that would force John, if he wanted to block with all the spiders on one of the Woodland Wanderers just to kill it, and that would open up the floodgates for Julian to attack with the Voltaic Brawler, maybe even the Spell Queller. Julian also has a clue.
And he can sacrifice that and look for, another card that can help him push through here.
Yeah, also if he just has like another Tamio or whatever, he could be like -2 Tamio, play Tamio, -2 Tamio, and clear away 4 blockers.
Yeah.
And that would make John Stern's life very difficult.
The Brawler also has the energy to attack for bonus damage.
Indeed.
Yeah, John chaining together Ishkanah Graph Widows in a game where his opponent is attacking him on the ground.
And it may not be enough?
It may not be enough. It might be enough.
Oh, here's a Verdurous Girahulk. The one you thought you saw last turn probably was in his hand. He just decided to use his mana differently, but bang. Now all of a sudden, the Wanderers are 8/8 trample vigilances? What in the world? All right, and as you described, Jake, the big spider and the zombie are going to get tapped down, leaving him with just 6. And this is a big attack here. Boom. I think John's just saying, okay, I can survive, right? I mean, he's facing down 16 trample damage just from the 2 Woodland Wanderers. It didn't actually catch if the Voltaic Brawler got the bonus from that last energy or if he needed to use it on the Ether Hub there.
I think he needed to use it for a second green.
Yeah,
So that he
I'm looking at the
cast
lands, and
his
that's what I'm
Nurture
seeing
Scare
too,
Hold.
Jake. Yeah. Okay. So no bonus for the Brawler.
This is awesome.
Man, this deck is sweet. Is he going to 1? Yeah, he is. So John
That's the best
Stern
he could do.
falls to 1, and he's still facing, let's see here, 620 trample damage and a flyer.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. That is insane.
That is quite insane. I spoke too soon. I thought, oh, Woodland Wanderer in conjunction with removal spells, but he just cast a Tameo and just started going to town.
Well, I think Tameo's a removal spell in your scenario.
Yeah.
2 of them, in fact. And that does it for game 1. Julian Wilds with the beatdown. 4-color aggro-ish.
Looked pretty aggressive to me. I mean, he can have really aggressive draws. The thing is that aggressive in this format is a lot different than aggressive in many other formats.
How so?
I mean, he's not playing Inventor's Apprentice. He's not playing Toolcraft Exemplar.
Yeah, see, that's how I would classify aggro.
Yeah, that's what aggro is right now. But I think
So he's not aggro.
he's not. But he is
Okay.
playing, Brawler, which is a 3/2 that becomes a 4/3 attacker that only costs 2 mana, and that's a very aggressive card. He's just going one step bigger than the aggro decks.
Yeah, exactly.
But then his end game is big enough that the decks that are going, that are trying to go one step bigger, that he can actually just eat them alive by playing giant Woodland Wanderers and tapping down their supposed trump cards with Tameo.
Love it. Let's take a look at Osip versus Bobby here. Osip 10-1. We got to catch him in round 2 feature match action yesterday,
Yeah.
and he has really ran it up. Good for him.
Yeah, planning a wedding. Hopefully he can.
His own,
Yeah.
or is he a wedding planner?
Well, I guess he is a wedding planner in that he is planning his own wedding.
Well, then
So
he's not a
both are
wedding
true.
planner. He's just planning his wedding.
If you feel like you've lost
Wedding planner's a
belonging to
job.
something
That's a
that needs to be
that's a job that people have. That's not his job, though.
found,
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I guess not as a pronoun, but as like a descriptive thing about him.
Yeah.
we do have a lost and found area up here at the stage, so if you think you're missing anything,
In the meantime, Bobby kind of running it out here. He just plays a Spell Queller. He let the Thraben Inspector resolve. I think he was waiting for something better. But unfortunately, I think he's going to see
Magic
Stasis Snare hit one of his threats. Looks like he's going to see that Spell Queller go away, and that's going to get Veteran Motorist back for Osip, who's going to immediately scribe both cards to the bottom.
it must be collected by the end of day today. Vouchers are only good.
Pretty aggressive by Bobby, but he got a little punish there.
Yeah, I mean, he is ahead right now. He is in the air. He's winning in terms of life total. He hasn't even taken his attack step yet. I think that if Bobby just continues pounding away, tries to protect his lead, that he's in pretty good shape this game.
If it's a race scenario, he's got a head start. It's hard for Osip to interact with the Flyers, and he can just capitalize on this race.
Yeah, it may seem like, he's the more controlling deck as Blue-White Flash, and Osip's the more aggressive deck as Red-White Vehicles. And while that's true in turns 1 and 2, the moment that Bobby turns the corner and gets ahead in terms of race math, that means that he's going to be in a pretty decent spot.
Well, especially with this is Fragmentized taking down the Stasis Snare and giving Bobby back a Spell Queller, though. Fleetwheel Cruiser here from Osip does. It's a lot of damage.
That is a lot of
He
damage.
hit you for 5. He could make it 6 too, right? He can crew if he wants. Well, let's just say no to that. There's Blessed Alliance from Bobby.
Oof.
Brutal. Osip's going to scoop him up, though. It looks like Osip had won game 1. So that means that they're going to go to game 3.
And Osip's got to feel good about being on the play in game 3 in that matchup.
Take a look at our main feature match players here. John Stern versus Julian Wilds. That is not a typo on the deck list for Julian. He is, in fact, playing a 4-color Tamiyo attacking deck, shall we say. Deck is cool.
Deck is awesome. Yeah, I think it's an understatement, even to say it's awesome. I saw earlier he was destroying people with Whirler Virtuoso.
Oh yeah,
This is
that is pretty great.
And one of the things I love about this is that he's playing this like mishmash of creatures, and he's got all these different colors. And Long Tusk Cub made the cut, and Smuggler's Copter did not.
That's great. That's great. He's do you worry about consistency issues? This deck is interesting. I mean, it's a 4-color deck. It's playing Tamiyo and Voltaic Brawler. Like, you're definitely stretching your mana base a bit. But it's got some pretty good tools for it. A bunch of dual lands, Ether Hubs.
Yeah, I mean, he's putting in the work to be able to cast these spells. I think the mana in his deck is better, for example, than trying to get black mana in that Marduk Vehicles deck.
Okay. Yeah, he has
As
a
far
tune
as-
with Ether here, so...
Yeah, he is playing 4 copies of Attune with Ether, and those also make his Aether Hubs much better. He's playing so many cards that create energy that he doesn't really have to worry, I'm going to run out of energy to cast my colored spells. Like, he'll usually have at least one there to, for example, make the second green that he needs to cast a Verdurous Gearhulk that makes both of his Woodland Wanderers into 8/8 tramples, so he can bash over the top of, let's say, a whole bunch of Ishkanah tokens.
I wonder what John makes of what he just saw.
Oh, he's got to love it.
I don't think he loves it.
I mean, he's got to
He's facing
respect it.
down.
He's got to respect it.
20 trample damage, he probably wasn't going, this is great. Yeah, no, you're right. He has to respect it. That was a pretty sweet showing by Julian in the first game.
When Hexproof gave you a modern Grand Prix trophy, you have to respect the 4-color Tamiyo aggro deck.
Fair enough. It was at GP Atlantic City.
That was.
I remember that.
We had some good pizza that weekend.
Oh, that was that weekend?
Wasn't it?
I don't know, but it was good pizza. I know exactly what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
No, actually, I think that was the next Atlantic City.
I think you're right. Which kind of actually makes me mad at you now. Because,
Jeez.
well, you didn't give me pizza that first time. Like, I can never have that back.
That's true. I don't think we knew each other back then.
Oh, well,
Right.
then I
think,
guess
like,
you maybe have an excuse if that's the case. I don't know if that's true, but if it is, I forgive you. All right, let's get back into the action here. Julian Wilds is going to be on the draw here against John Stern. But it looks like Julian is tanked on actually his mulligan, his scry decision after the mulligan. All right, and we are underway. Botanical Sanctum there for Julian. Uh-oh. Is that a miss land drop from John?
I believe it is.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that can't be.
Oh, no, this isn't
Good
a
for him.
brawler, is it? All right, well, Servant of the Conduit's decent.
And there's another card that helps fix the mana. I think the mana is surprisingly good in this 4-color
Lots
deck.
of energy, too.
Yeah.
The Attune with Ethers, the Ether Hubs, the Servants, and the Brawlers all just piling on. Ooh, very nice. Turn 3. Tireless Tracker, but with the land drop to back it up. Now,
Yeah.
that's business.
Absolutely.
John did find a land, and really one of the better lands off the top of his library. A Hissing Quagmire gives him access to both colors of mana here for his black-green Delirium deck. But now I'm assuming that he's going to have something like a Traverse the Ulvenwald here to go find the mana. I just don't think he would keep without that. You know, thinking, okay, I'll scry aggressively to green mana, got a bunch of green mana sources in my deck, then when I find one I can traverse, and then I'll be out of my mana issues. And that's what happened here. Oh, geez, really good turn for him.
Yeah.
Goes and gets
Ideal.
another basic, which allows him to cast the Grim Flayer there.
He's still really far behind.
Way far behind, yeah.
Especially with that tireless tracker already making clues. Like, if I'm sitting in John's seat there, it doesn't even matter what cards are in my hand. I just feel like I'm reeling.
Yep. Yeah, especially if Julian has like a land pre-combat here, too. It's just
Yeah, it's so bad. You're like, oh man,
like,
especially if his opponent has a land in his hand.
Yeah.
You know, like
in the meantime, Julian has a clean attack here with his tireless tracker, as he can threaten to sacrifice the clue and just run over the Grim Flayer. Even if he doesn't want to, which it turns out he didn't. He just attacked for 3 because he's got other plans. A Brawler. Oh, there's more. Oh, my God. A Long Tusk Cub, and he did have the land, too. Oh, how is John going to recover from this? He has got some serious work to do. He's going to need, like, Kalatas here. No way to interact from Julian.
Flying Tendrils would be pretty nice, not going to lie.
Does he have that in his board?
He does not.
Oh, man. That would have been so savage
yeah,
here.
that would be about the most brutal.
The only thing that would survive would be the cub. Oh, man, but he doesn't have it. And he's going to have to do this the hard way. No guarantee of hitting land here either.
To the Red Gathering Point flag. Again, they have Ralph Ricker and Angel Espeo to the Red Gathering Point flag for your booster draft.
And now he's playing a Vessel Nascency. It's just... And we've seen that time and time again when you're playing against these aggressive decks. That card, while it's so good at setting up your Delirium and it's so good at finding you the cards you need, if you're investing mana on your earliest turns into that card, then you're often just getting completely run over.
The tempo hit is massive, and it looks like John's trying to hit a land drop here. But it's taken his entire turn. And this is not going to end well for John Stern.
And I've seen so many cards that on the surface don't seem like they would really be that great, really be all-stars for Julian this weekend when I've been following him around. Long Tusk Cub, I've seen that just be threatening to be an 8/8 attacker, and he can just constantly chip in for 2 and never have to devote the mana. It's got a lot of angles here.
Yeah, John Stern barely hanging on. Here's an Attune with Ether from Julian. And we're going to see a big attack here. I'm assuming that John did hit Delirium off of the Vessel. It's a little hard to see all the cards that see. There's a Traverse, a Vessel, a To the Slaughter. That's 3. Wow, did he actually not? Is there no creature or land in his graveyard? My goodness. Man, the crazy part is that all the while Julian's just been piling up. Yeah. Okay. Yep, it was only a 2/2. He's also been piling up clues here.
Wow.
Should have 3 clues by now, though, right?
Yes.
Did he miss one?
He may have missed a clue trigger.
All right, well, to be fair, I don't think it's going to matter much if he
Not
did.
really sure if it matters at all. Yeah, he remembered to get the extra energy off the Aether Hub, but he did not remember to pick up the clue when he did so.
Yeah, his energy did go up from the Harness Lightning by 1 because he only needed to use 2 energy to kill the Grim Flayer, which netted him 1 energy. But yeah, the clue, unfortunately, he did not get.
John's at 3 already?
Well, that wasn't bad. Just 14 you.
Yeah. Well, I have like a card advantage engine going.
Man, I tell you what, these people are kind of going nuts now that, Languish and those type of cards are gone. It's like,
And the energy cards only have one set, too. Can you imagine what this is going to be like?
Oh, kidding.
A couple months?
This is a savaging. I mean, John knew that he was going to be up against it, keeping a one-lander. And to be fair, things went about as smoothly as they could go for him. He, missed one land drop, but then hit a dual land on the next one and then traversed into Grimflayer. Yeah, things happen, but Julian's deck somehow has been quite consistent. When I see 4-color, I automatically think, yeah, but some percentage of games his deck's just not going to do anything, but it really hasn't played out like that.
It doesn't seem like that's the case here. I mean, he has access to enough, green mana that he's really able to use cards like Attune with Aether and cards like Servant of the Conduit to, make himself cast the spells every single turn.
Attune with what? I didn't understand.
Attune with Aether.
Oh, that card, right.
Yes.
That's the one. My favorite so far, Jake, is that earlier you said he played an Aether hub, and then the next sentence you said Attune with Aether. I'm like, oh, we're working at one card at a time. All right, this should do it, and that does in fact do it. Julian Wilds, 11-1.
Wow.
Goodness sakes. He is just running it up with this 4-color Tameo aggro deck, and you see John Stern's
the
just
story
like,
of the weekend?
all right. It is for me.
It is for me, too.
Yeah, so far, especially just with the extreme success that Julian's having here. He is not messing around. Let's take a look over at the other match that we had popped in. Osip Lebitovich playing against Bobby. Fortunately. And we are in game number 3. This was Osip winning game 1. When we popped in, Bobby was just winning game number 2. And so let's see how this
looks real
ends.
good for Osip. Like real good.
Whoa, it sure does. Okay, Bobby. Bobby may be getting a bit desperate here. Oh, blocking with Smuggler's Copter, that's a thing.
Yeah, and then I think he
Wait,
also
is
has
this lethal, though?
a stasis snare here. That
He
can
better.
get the
Looks like he's
Fleetwell
taking
Cruiser.
6.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that worked out pretty well for Bobby. Bobby only takes 1 damage instead of lethal there. Sure, trades off Copters.
I mean, that's about as good as it could have been for him. Wow, and he did a good job of catching up here.
Yeah, decent chance at that. That cruiser was lethal on its own as well. We see that a veteran motorist crewed up one of the vehicles, and if it had crewed up the copter, then Osip would not have traded there. So it must have been the cruiser. Yeah, it had to be.
Yeah, and I mean, you think to yourself,
Couldn't have done it any other way.
the cruiser does require more crewing power.
That's right.
Some more mana being left open here by Bobby. Probably a sign that he's got more interaction again for the combat step of Osip.
Bobby's down to 5.
And Osip's getting some extra cards here with those clues at the same time, so... Ooh.
How about a Sky Sovereign? Let's put that on the stack. Oh, it resolved too. Bobby says, okay, well, if my Reflector Mage is going down, it's going down in a copter. But like you said, Bobby really needs to find some action here because that Sky Sovereign is going to just tear apart Bobby's board. And Smuggler's Copter on its own is not going to get the job done.
Not at all. And we've seen Sky Sovereign do very well against these blue-white flash decks where it has a lot of targets. It does so well against Spell Queller because, it costs enough mana that it can't get targeted while also, gobbling up all the Spell Quellers that have been cast earlier in the game. The post-board copies of Giselle the Broken Blade they're bringing in against you, it matches up really well against those. Just a great sideboard card for the matchup. If you're playing a vehicle stack, this is exactly the kind of card you want when you're playing against these blue-white flash decks.
Uh-oh, here's DePaula now for Osip.
Wow. I think that might just be the final blow here.
That could be. Well, not quite enough. It looks like Spell Queller from Bobby is going to take care of DePaula, though that means that Bobby does not get to play the Blessed Alliance that they have in their hand.
Yeah, so...
Still, you got to like Sky Sovereign's chances here.
Yeah, I mean, especially the way it matches up against Bobby's board. Just seems so good.
I mean, Osip can get back DePaula almost right away, while forcing Bobby to chump block.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sky Sovereign takes to the skies.
And the fact that the veteran motorist is pumping the Sky Sovereign actually relevant here because of the Spell Queller hops in the copter on its way off the battlefield and then tries to double block alongside the Spirit. Won't be good enough anymore.
Okay, well, Osip's just going to jam with the team here. Now, he's got a trigger on the stack from the Sky Sovereign to do 3 damage to one of these creatures, and it's going to be the Spell Queller. There will be a response from Bobby, though. Bobby is going to crew up the copter and then sacrifice Selfless Spirit. That's going to save the Spell Queller and probably the copter if it's going to block. Wait for that trigger to resolve. And then sacrifice this. So that means that the Smuggler's Copter and the Spell Queller are both, well, they're both creatures at this point, and they're both indestructible. Though I think that Osip may be responding to the Selfless Spirit trigger here.
I believe so. It seems to be what it looks like.
What does he have? Galvanic Bombardment?
That doesn't really quite do anything here.
Not unless there's another one in the yard, which it does not look like there is.
He may have a pair of them.
Oh, that would be interesting. Still only be able to take down 1 creature with that if that were the case. But 2 of them would make sense if he's going to cast 1. Galvanic Bombardment, and you guessed it, Jake, another Galvanic Bombardment. So
yeah.
Bang, bang.
So that's really all it could have been at that point.
Agreed, yeah. So Bobby's going to lose Spell Queller. That's going to put DePaula back down on the battlefield. It's going to force Bobby to chump block. Though the good news is that it is indestructible, that copter, so it will survive this chump block. And Bobby's going to fall down to just 3 life.
Yeah, 3's not really where you want to be when you're facing against Sky Sovereign.
No. Bobby had to discard that Blessed Alliance, too. Those pesky Thraben Inspectors are really making that card not look great. Oh, did Bobby find a Linvala? Is that possible? Oh, it's very possible.
Oh, wow.
Linvala, 5 life, and Angel Friend. This is one of those cards in Standard that can really dig you back. Let's see if it's enough, though. Because that Sky Sovereign still looks pretty darn good, especially thanks to DePaula and or the Motorist.
Yeah. Wow. This is a lot closer than I thought it would be.
It really is. Oh, let's not forget about Needle Spires there, too.
Oh, wow.
Still at 8 life for Bobby. This is a much different ball game.
Still, so he's going to get in for at least... he has to block there if he wants to kill that.
Gets to shoot down something.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be shooting down the Angel token, and then...
The Angel token will...
jump in the helicopter.
Right.
At which point, then Bobby would need to double block if he wants to get the Sky Sovereign off the table, but that would mean that Osip was attacking for lethal if he activates the Spires. So, because the Spires along with the Depala and the pair of Thraben Inspectors.
Is it lethal? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Very lethal.
So, yeah, if he activates the Needle Spires, uses the Veteran Motorist to hop into the Sky Sovereign, and then attacks with everything and kills the Angel, then it forces Bobby
chumps
to mix up his blocks, at which point the Sky Sovereign will continue to survive. And then Bobby will lose his Smuggler's Copter. And that's got to be a good spot for Osip. I mean,
and Bobby will take some damage, too.
Yeah, he'll go to 3 if he makes the optimal blocks.
The thing that's interesting is that Osip keeps looking at the card in his hand. I couldn't quite see what it was, but it's apparent that Osip maybe has a choice here because of the card in hand. That could be interesting. You know, a removal spell of some sort could be pretty good here. Potentially a game ender.
I mean, it's possible that he just has like a really big spell in hand, something like Archangel Avacyn, in which case he might be incentivized to even make different blocks or different attacks than that. But I really like activating the Needle Spires and going for it with everything because it clears the opponent's board of everything except the 5/5, while also putting him down to 3. And your Sky Sovereign is still alive.
Yep.
You do, however, lose your Depala. Not overly worried about that. I don't know about you.
No, I'm not overly worried about that either. As long as I can get my Sky Sovereign up to 6/6, I'm fine. And I can with the Veteran Motorist next turn. Looks like it was just a Thraben Inspector, actually, that Osip had drawn. And he's going to actually just crack a clue. He knows he can just play this Thraben Inspector and have the clue. And maybe if he finds, a removal spell, he could just end the game on the spot. So his hand is Thraben Inspector and card off of clue. And that means that he's not going to make the Needle Spires play, though.
This attack no longer threatening lethal. Now the attack with Sky Sovereign, not great, because even if he kills the Angel, then he could still get double blocked. Sky Sovereign is a 8/7. But, so I guess it takes down both of those guys and then leaves Bobby at 3. I kind of like leaving myself with the Sky Sovereign. Though he does get to see more cards here as a result.
Okay, well, let's see how Bobby reacts.
So that leads me to believe that Osip either has something that costs 2 mana or just a land that comes into play untapped in hand. Because he has that extra copy of Thraben Inspector.
Mm-hmm. So if you're Bobby, though, you like the double block on the... You like this block?
Yeah, I think you need to. It's really hard to just chump it with Copter and block the Depala with your Angel, because at that
coming
point,
back.
then, you're going to 6, and then you don't even have anything that can favorably fight with the Sky Sovereign. I mean, this Sky Sovereign has just been absurd.
Yes, it really has. It's already killed 2 creatures.
And now again, it's killing both of these at the same time. Like, this is... Bobby had the best card he could have had in the spot, and the Sky Sovereign is still just completely clearing his board after having already done so much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and it was another 1-drop there from Osip. So Osip deciding to set up the 2-turn kill here and looking pretty darn good in doing it, I have to say. That is a lot of damage coming over. And with no fear of sweepers, it's just very difficult for Bobby to come up with a line that actually gets the job done here.
3 players, time is up. Active player, please finish the turn. Then both players.
Looks like Osip may just fire up the old Needle Spires here and jam.
If you have a time extension, please raise your hand and call for a judge.
That is a pile of creatures, and he's just going to send them in.
Absolutely.
He has a clue as an artifact as well, so that is going to do it. Bobby has to extend the hand. And Osip, 11-1?
We can
Whoa,
all
buddy. Okay, we've got one of our side matches actually moved over as well. Geez, they're still in game 2.
Jeez.
Ben Friedman with Mardu Vehicles versus Blue White Flash somehow in game 2 here. These players better pick it up a little. They're not going to finish.
Yeah, I mean, this Avacyn's already been flipped here for Ben, so.
And Ben does look to be in a decent spot here. He's up a game with an Avacyn already transformed for him. And removal spells all over the place. And hey, we got here just in time for the handshake. That's Ben Friedman, improving to 10-1-1. Took their time in doing it, but they got the job done. Match finished and plenty of time left. And that's going to do it. We will be back after just a little bit.